Okay, so I think it's recording. Okay, hello everyone. So today I have Dr. Phoebe Lau here with us, who is a clinical psychologist and the director of the Inner Collective, a psychology private practice here in Melbourne. The Inner Collective is also one of the practice partners on our Asian mental health practitioner list, so you can find a lot of their practitioners on our list. So thank you so much for joining with me today, Phoebe.
Not a problem. Excited for our chat.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, we just wanted to use this opportunity to kind of like get to know you and like the practice and what the practice offers as well. So I might just dive straight into the first question. Could you just tell me a little bit about your connection to your culture?
Yeah, I love this question. I think my connection to culture is ongoing. It's a growing, evolving thing, and it's complicated.
Mm,
Basically, I was an Asian kid, excuse me, of the 90s in Australia. So I'm sure you've heard of the stories about, Pauline Hanson and, Asians flooding the suburbs. I was exposed to all of that on TV. And there was a big push to basically, lose your culture and really integrate into the mainstream Anglo society. So and that's complicated also by I'm born in Hong Kong. My family's from Hong Kong. It was a British colony. And then so there was a lot of complicated relationship with Western culture versus traditional Chinese culture. And my parents were relatively westernized as well. So trying to still figure out, where that balance between, okay, my Australian identity and culture, my Chinese heritage, my identity as a Hong Konger as well, because that's very distinct too. And that has really amalgamated recently because I have a little son who's a halfie. So my husband's Anglo-Australian. And then thinking about, what this means for him as well as I'm navigating it. So it's not a straightforward answer. It's an evolving kind of complex thing culture is.
yeah, no, definitely. And I think a lot of people would have a very similar, really complicated story as well. I definitely resonate with that too. Um, do you think then, I guess like you mentioned your son is a halfie then, what kind of like perspective are you bringing into sort of like raising his cultural identity?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good question. That's a question that I ask myself as well.
Mm,
And I think what's really important is um, just diversity, I think, of all kinds is
yeah,
really important culturally for my son. But also exposure to language, celebration, culture, um, nuance around, what it means to be Chinese. What are the values? What are the values that I can pass down, or the ones that, I value?
yeah,
Ones that I don't value and don't agree so much, I can leave that behind. But also passing down, values that are really important to me, but also balancing that out and understanding that he's most likely going to be raised in Australia.
yeah.
So, um, how do those two cultures kind of complement each other? Because we don't want to villainize one culture over another as well.
Mm, yeah, definitely. So now thinking about, I guess, your journey into psychology, like why you became a psychologist, um, I guess could you speak a little bit about that and whether or not like culture kind of plays a role in that sort of journey as well?
Oh, absolutely. So I spent a better half of my childhood and adolescence in Western Sydney. So I'm from Sydney.
Hmm.
As you can imagine, Western Sydney is really vibrant, full of different cultures, different perspectives, and our parents, most of our parents were, immigrants. So luckily, I found, my goal to be a psychologist really early on. I think I was about 14 when I decided that I wanted to be a psychologist. And that was really shaped by people at school who were of different cultures who just wanted to chat about their parents to me.
Mm,
And obviously, I was going through my own thing with my parents, being raised by overprotective, very strict Chinese parents. And that was a shared story amongst different Asian communities, South Asian communities as well. And so people found me pretty easy to chat to. And yeah, it kind of started from there. And I've been fascinated about people's stories and people's journeys. I think it's such an honor to hear people's journeys as well. There are themes amongst all our journeys, but no journey is exactly the same.
mm.
So I love hearing people's stories.
Yeah, wow. I cannot, I don't know, like I, if I think back to when I was 14, which is not that long ago, I don't think I was like anywhere near being like that. So I think that is like an amazing and really, honestly, truly very beautiful reflection for you to have. Um,
Oh, don't worry. I went through silly things at 14 as well.
I'm just thinking like, wow, like 14-year-old baby is like
I wasn't that
saying like
wise.
oh my gosh. But yeah, I guess yeah, it sounds like culture has been a very sort of like strong theme throughout like this whole journey for you. So then I guess now coming to you having your own private practice, does this kind of like is this kind of like what you want to see usually in clients as well? Like people sort of like handling cultural identity issues and like trying to understand their own sort of culture. Yeah, like what kind of clients do you usually see at the Inner Collective?
Oh, yes. So we see a lot of people who are trying to unravel kind of that complex tapestry of what culture means to them, and also navigating being raised in Australia and then being an adult here and having that sense of duty and obligation to parents or to culture, and that clashing with, parts of what they need as well. So we have a lot of clients who come through with challenges that manifest in, they might come with anxiety or depression or relationship issues, but culture is a major theme, but also not only about family, but also their cultural identity at work. What it means to be, it could be Asian, but it could be other cultural aspects as well. So we see a lot of neurodivergent people. We see a lot of people in the queer community, and that's culture.
Hmm.
That intersect of different cultures, what that means in relation to family, with friends, within the workplace. We see, a lot of that in our practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important for you to touch on that like culture is not just like cultural background and ethnicity. It's about like all those different like groups that you're a part of, and all those parts that make up your identity. So yeah, I think that's really important. And there are so many different and really complicated layers that intersect that sort of really like form our mental health. Um, I guess so then do you kind of see like adults mainly like people of a specific generation? Um, I guess like you kind of mentioned people who might have like grown up in a different country and migrated to Australia? Like, I guess, like, yeah, like, what's that kind of demographic look like?
So we don't choose a specific group. We just
Hmm.
let, pe people who connect with us.
Yeah,
Um, they, tend to be, the adults range from, 19-year-old to people in their 50s. Like,
yeah.
so we don't cap ages.
Mm,
Um, we do find, again, because our practice and we're one of very few practices that really highlight the what we're focusing on and our values, and that's working with um, not only just the mental health spectrum, but we like to work with people of different cultural and diverse identities. So whether or not you're neurodivergent, whether or not you're queer, whether or not you identify as an immigrant, whether or not you're Chinese, Asian, whoever, um, people are drawn to us because we work with that nuance and we understand that nuance and we continue every year. We do training, we reflect that nuance. And every one of our practitioners are really dedicated to that as well. So we do attract people with those presentations as well as others who just like our vibe and connect with us and
yeah,
have other more common mental health conditions as well.
yeah. Amazing. Did you want to speak a little bit about like I guess the practitioners you have at the practice as well?
Yeah, well, I have an amazing team of practitioners. So, uh, a mix of clinical psychologists and psychologists, and we all have different therapeutic modalities and interests as well. So, some people are really interested in working with the queer community, some are interested in working with personality disorders, others are interested in working with migration stress and migration adjustment difficulties. Um, we all have a trauma-informed lens as well because we can't talk about that intersection of different cultures without talking about trauma. So we all practice from that trauma-informed lens as well. So all our practitioners I can't speak highly enough of them. They're all wonderfully inclusive and on their journey as well. And I must say about the practice that I hope is a little bit different is that we have accessibility in mind as much as you can in a private practice. So we try and balance an accessible fee with what is sustainable for our psychologists to work. So you'll and people will look at different fee structures and different practices, but one of the values of our practice and that we keep reflecting on year after year is in private, unfortunately, we're not government funded, we're not an NGO, so there's only limited things we can do. But we reflect year on year. Okay, what is a sustainable fee to provide mental health to our community and our expertise to the community, as well as what is sustainable for our psychologists who want to keep working at the practice. So, all of our psychologists who join the practice join because their values aligned with the practice rather than, it's about the fees.
Yeah,
So I know that all the psychologists part of the practice are, really dedicated to helping our community.
yeah. Amazing. And just for anyone who's listening who might not understand what trauma-informed sort of lens might mean, could you just give a really brief explanation of what that is?
Yeah, so it's understanding, well, first of all, it's understanding what trauma is and what different types of trauma is, and how it can um, manifest itself through different life experiences. So often we think of, well, I guess it kind of swings each way. We either use the word trauma really liberally, like that was so traumatic, I'm traumatized.
Mhm.
And so we lose the meaning of that word. Or people think that trauma is, a car accident or going off to war. But there's like a whole spectrum of different types of trauma and how it can affect our nervous system, our body, our brain function, our cognitions, and that kind of shapes like I guess how we think about writing a book. Each chapter layers on top of another.
Mm.
So as we grow and develop and have different experiences, trauma kind of changes the way our nervous system and body and cognitions and brain functions. And trauma informed means it's understanding that and integrating um, trauma informed strategies and modalities into our therapy as well.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I think that's so important. Understanding that, like, I guess, yeah, like there's that broad spectrum of traumatic events that aren't necessarily like those really threatening or like death-related events, but they can be so many things, and how that informs and shapes our responses to everyday things. So I think that is, yeah, very important. Um, Okay, I do have one last question. And so Sami told me that you were the first person to ever join our practitioner list, which would be way before, or not that long before I joined, but yeah, would be before I joined. I just wanted to know why you signed up to the Asian mental health practitioner list and like what you love about being a part of the Shapes and Sounds community.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like ages ago. I think it was pre-COVID, so it feels like a long time.
Probably. Yeah, it would be pre-COVID before me. Yeah.
Yeah, so Asami approached me before there was a practitioner list
Yeah.
as she was developing this idea of just shapes and sounds. And we had a chat, and I thought it was a really great initiative because there, as far as I knew at that time, there wasn't something like just shapes and sounds that really highlighted the unique aspects of Asian mental health
Mm.
and also made that information really accessible, particularly to millennials and Gen Zs as well. So at that time, a lot of that information was more siloed into that kind of academic area as well. So Asami was trying to bring it out into the community. And, I really believed in Asami and what she was doing. And she's also a really lovely person.
Yeah.
And yes, I'll help in any way I can. And, at that time, I was also moving from a really large practice myself that wasn't focused on culture necessarily. And, making out on my own and starting my own practice. And I really was figuring out how cultural responsiveness could be a core aspect of my practice as well. So it kind of all aligned.
Yeah. That, yeah, sounds like that was perfect then. Well, we're so glad to have you and now the practice on our list. And yeah, I'm sorry. Um, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, as I was saying, we're really glad to have you and now the practice on our list. And well, is there anything else you wanted to mention about the practice before we wrap today up?
No, I think we covered everything. I'm
Yeah, I
really
think so
excited.
too.
Yeah, I'm really excited to work with more of the community next year and beyond, and so are my psychologists.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today then. And we'll see you next time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.